Okay, so today is October 25, 2021, and this is the Westwood Recreation Commission meeting. It is being recorded and will be available on the Westwood Media Center website after this, after the meeting ends. And it is 7:03. We're calling the meeting to order. And the first agenda item is public questions or comments, and I do not see anyone from the public in attendance. There's no one waiting to get in, are they, Rich?
There is no one, no.
Okay. So consent agenda, if you had a chance to look at the agenda before the meeting, is there anything that you wish to remove under the, anyone wishes to remove under the consent agenda?
Nope.
Nope. So can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sure, I'll move to
Paul
approve the consent
moves.
agenda.
And I think I have to call on everyone to see if they're in favor. So I'll start with Sheila.
First
Well,
we
can
need
you
a first we
second
need
it?
a second.
Can someone
and then
second
you'll
it?
Oh,
just- we'll do a roll
second,
call.
sorry,
Yeah.
God. Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joyce. So Sheila, do you approve?
Yep.
I approve. Katie, do you approve of the consent agenda?
I approve.
And Mitch, do you approve? Excellent. So we have everyone in favor, no one not in favor.
I approve.
Oh, didn't you made the motion, right? Oh, do I need to go to the people who made the motion as well, Rich?
They made the motion, so.
Okay.
So we're good.
I'm used to just us
I don't know.
I all
But yeah, I
around.
know, it's,
yeah.
but technically they just still need to vote, so yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the first item is approval of the minutes. And I quickly read over the minutes. I didn't have any comments. So does anyone have any comments on the minutes? If not, I'll be looking for a motion to approve. All right, does anyone might want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Joyce. And who wants to second the motion?
I'll second.
Mitch seconds. I'm in favor. Sheila, are you in favor of approving
Yes.
the minutes? And Katie
Yep.
and Paul,
Yes.
Joyce and Mitch, you made the motions. You're still in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so minutes are approved. And so then the next item is the monthly report, Rich. And what page is that on the agenda? That's, I know I saw
It
it.
is in our package on page 5.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so just a couple of points, and I think, and again, oftentimes these things wind up on our agenda as well. So some of this may, I'll be addressing it in more detail, but we do have a new Aquatics Manager. So that will mean that we will be fully staffed now for the first time since February of 20, which is terrific. It's been a long 17 months, but we're happy to have the new person, and they'll be starting on November 1st. Obviously, everybody was there at Westwood Day, and so that was the big thing. And for us in September, we finished out our summer strong and moved in September right into the final planning stages for Westwood Day. And you know, it was a terrific day, I think. We got very lucky with the weather, and it turned out to be a great day. So that was really the big thing for us, obviously, in September. We also had in September a national underwater rugby tournament
Right.
at the pool. And that was the week before Westwood Day, and that turned out to be a very successful event. We had 60 people come from across the country.
Wow.
To participate, and very successful event. So those were the highlights.
Excellent. All right, bear with me as I get back to the agenda. Sorry, scrolling around here. Oh, so director staff report.
Actually, before we go there, do we just want to
Oh,
talk
new member,
about-
sorry, I skipped over it. New member update, yes. So welcome, Katie. I think most of you met Katie when she visited us, but she's an official member of the Recreation Commission with lots of teaching and technology and leadership experience. So
Welcome
I think
aboard,
it'd be
Katie.
great.
Welcome, Katie.
Welcome.
Excited. Thank you.
Yay. So sorry, I scrolling back and forth. Can't wait till we can meet in person. That's later in the agenda. Okay, so now director staff reports.
So the first thing that I have on here today is just to really just look back at Westwood Day. I know Ann and Katie, you provided some feedback to me, which I have and have incorporated that into our notes. We're doing something a little bit different this time, in that we always had our debrief right after Westwood Day, and then we sort of put everything in a drawer until the next year's Westwood Day planning started 3 months later. And what we're going to do this time is we're actually going to have a monthly meeting to sort of continue to talk about the to-dos, the follow-ups, and make sure that they stay fresh, make sure that we are creating and building on the knowledge that we gained from the last one. So we had our first debrief meeting just a week after Westwood Day. We have our next one next week, where we're going to be compiling, all of the input from you all and input from ourselves. And we're sort of really building on from what used to be just a bunch of bullet points to really a very thorough checklist, so that anybody that had never done it before could pick up that checklist, that notes, if you will, a procedural manual, and really perform that function for that silo of Westwood Day. So we want to try to formalize it. And one of the things that we, for the first 7 Westwood Days, it was pretty much the same people doing it time after time. And then with the turnover, we lost a lot of that knowledge. And so we're going to try to institutionalize that knowledge in writing, and so that we have that playbook in much more detail for the next ones. Hopefully we won't have any more turnover, and that everybody will be back, but it's an exercise that is worth pursuing. So that's going to continue throughout the next few months before we start planning the next Westwood Day, which will be about the February timeframe of next year. And of course, you may or may not be aware, but next Westwood Day will be the town's 125th anniversary, and it will be the 10th Westwood Day. So I've been in discussions with Chris, and we'd like to make it more than what it has been. As good as it's been, we want to make it more, bigger, better. So there's going to be there have not yet been, but the plan is to have more involvement with someone just came home. So
There a motion on the floor?
yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't want it to be bigger or better. He likes it the way it is.
I know. So anyway, there's going to be more. The plan right now is to have more involvement from other departments within the town, and
That would be good.
and more input and whatnot. So so that's where we are. So if you happen to have any feedback and you'd like to offer it now, that's great. If you'd like to shoot me an email with your observations, my feeling is always that the sooner you do these things while it's still fresh on your mind, the more useful the feedback is. So I'll leave that up.
Rich,
You
just
have
one
some now,
fast thing with the parking. You know how in the beginning when the vendors all show up,
Yes.
there was a little bit of meddling because the name of the vendor that they came with did not match to the folders. So for example, the Hanlon project, you know how they were doing the new school? They had
Yes.
that was under Hanlon project, not Westwood PTO. So it took, like, we had to go through all the folders. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there was small little things that was like, it paralyzed the line. Does that make sense?
So-
what I just said?
So part of it, so part of it is to make sure that the vendors that are coming in need to know how they're registered. Right?
Correct.
Which sounds
Correct.
obvious, but sometimes they might not realize how it was actually registered. But no, that's really good feedback. And we did talk about that in our first debrief. And I know, Sheila, you were a big part of that. And I observed over the radio often where there seemingly were names that you weren't able to find a folder for, and it caused confusion. So we did talk about that, and that'll be interesting additional feedback that I'll share with the team next week to find a way to make sure that the people that are coming to the vendors that are coming, the people that are actually manning the booths, know how they're registered, because it's not always the people that come to the booth are the ones that do the
Absolutely
registration
true.
and whatnot.
Absolutely true.
And
Yeah.
so they may be unaware of the official name of how it was registered. So,
Hey,
yeah.
Rich, so when
Yes.
you send out, do you send out like confirmation emails to these folks? That's how it happens, right? It's always
We
written
do.
letter.
We do.
Right,
Yep.
So maybe just complete that sometime in the first line of that
Yeah.
confirmation email.
Oh,
I guess.
the problem, Paul, is that Joe signs up a vendor and then Mary shows up with her friend, and the friend is in the car in front of Mary, or 3 cars in front of Mary helping her out. So no one knows the name of the company. No one knows who filled out the paperwork, or, or did they arrive before anyone else arrived?
So, but if this email, and I'm sure this is what Rich is thinking, bold up front said, it's very important that you make sure that everybody who is coming to this booth knows that you are registered under the Hanlon project. Otherwise, to avoid delays,
Right.
100%. Yeah.
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 Or he gives me a QR code that we get to scan, and then we see the name. You know what I mean? Something like that could be easy too.
QR code,
idea.
boy.
Yeah.
You push us, that sounds like a Katie job.
I moved you up.
Yeah, it does. I was thinking the same thing.
You're an
My
IT
son
Katie,
could
it's
do
all
it,
over. Just you.
Well, and I will say that this year, the number of vendors was less than we've had in the past couple of years. And the line in years past went all the way out onto Manhattan Street.
True.
Now, one of the things we did do was we pushed the check-in much closer to the vendor village rather than closer to Manhattan Street, so that helped. But it would have been, had we had 140, it would have been a lot more challenging than the 90 that we did have. So that's really good feedback, Sheila. And I'll definitely make sure that gets incorporated, that we've got to make it very clear to the vendors that regardless of who shows up, they have that name, and to make sure that it's easier for the people to find the folders.
Yeah, and then some of them that attended more than once didn't like the spot, and they went back to where they were the year before, that they enjoyed that spot. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, that's a little bit harder to control, but again, we can make it clear that the spot that they're assigned is the spot that they have to take. And
Yeah.
This year that we were a little bit more spread out because there were fewer, and that was intentional as well. Certainly COVID was still on our mind as we put this thing together. And traditionally in the parking lot, you'd get 2 spaces. There'd be a table and 2 chairs. This year we did 2 spaces, skipped the parking spot, and then 2 parking spaces with the table. You know what I mean? So we spread it out further.
Yeah.
But having it spread out allowed them probably to go where they wanted a little bit more than if it were every 2 parking spaces were a table. They wouldn't have that ability to do that.
Is there a way you could offer them, the returning vendors, to go back to the spot they had before? That way they're just in that spot. Like the hockey people knew exactly where to go to, and there was like 15 cars of hockey, but they went straight by me right into the hockey spot.
Well, we'll explore that.
Okay.
It sounds easier than it is. There's a lot of coordination that goes into where you place those people, and it makes sense to put them in the same spot. But then there's a lot of new vendors as well, and if everybody were the same, it would be that much easier. But I can tell you that trying to coordinate 90 different names on a grid is challenging.
No, I got
Are
you.
they grouped by like the craft people are all together? Do you do that? Is that type of thinking, like the pottery people?
There's not a conscious effort to do that, Joyce. The only time that we would do something like that, if certain vendors request to be next to each other for whatever reason, they're affiliated somehow and they want to be together, and we'll do something like that if space permits. So
Do you,
Yes. So it's not a deliberate at times.
do you send
No,
out, do you send out a,
go ahead, Katie.
sorry.
Okay.
Do you send out a map of like the tables and the setups with the numbers beforehand?
We do, yeah. And the map is, because we'll number each location, right? And the map is, it's a little bit difficult to read, if I'm being honest, because there's so many different, it's very small, and we'd have to send out a map, 4 feet by 6 feet in order for it to be really useful, but we're not going to do that. So you send it out on an 8 by 10 piece of paper, and the numbers are real small. So it's really intended to help just people visualize, roughly where they're going to be in the parking lot. And then when they get there, there are the aisles, and each aisle has signs with the numbers for each, that each aisle represents. So it's kind of like a grocery store where you've got aisle A1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, and sort of what's down each aisle. So the same kind of idea.
Does anyone else have feedback that they want to share now, or?
No. All right. Well, our hope is that we'll be back to our historic numbers with, the number of vendors and whatnot. It's obviously with the anniversary years there, we're hoping that alone will be an attraction, and we'll do our best to try to keep the day exclusive to us, which is what we did this year too. But one of the neighboring towns, after we set the date, we thought we were the only ones of the neighboring towns to have that date, and then it changed after we had started. So if we can have it exclusive, then the vendors will be more likely to come to us, whereas some of the vendors went to the other town and whatnot. So
Was it because of cost or pre-commitment?
I don't know. I think some vendors just are very small operations. Like many of our vendors are big corporations, and they probably could man 2 towns at once. Others are literally, sole individuals that are selling their wares or whatnot. And
No, I'm just
could
curious
only do
about,
one.
so
Why,
I'm just,
why they chose Medfield over Westwood?
well, I'm not, just curious, was it because we're $140 a table and they're 90?
I don't think
know.
so.
I don't know. I mean, that's something we could probably look at.
Well, we can look at that. Now, some of the vendors that may come from another town because they run a business over there, but they're from that town, so they're going to stay local.
Mm.
And likewise with the vendors that we had, many of them I'm sure were from Westwood, and if they were on different days, they may go to 2 different ones, but they stayed with Westwood because they're from Westwood. So I'm sure, I think what you'd find is there's many different reasons why. I don't think there's one reason.
Okay.
All right. And so if anyone has any feedback after the meeting,
Yeah.
But always good to pass it along whenever you have it.
No, we're always looking to improve our process and learn from what we've done. So if you feel like things need to be changed, or if there's improvements that we made, or if you think something worked really well and think it should be done the same way the next time, all of that is good information that we will use to make next year's better. And of course, all of you have really good insight, because you have, all volunteered for this event, and you see a lot of it happening from, some very important locations, right? The assignments that you get are key assignments to make Westwood Day happen. And obviously, we're very thankful for you, giving your time to do that. And, very much appreciate any of the insight that you offer, because you see it. You're all spread out throughout the campus throughout the day, and you all have a very good input, very good vantage point to see what works and what doesn't work. So.
Yeah,
All
but it
right.
was a great day overall. I thought,
Thank you.
a lot of hard work. Yeah.
All right.
Fireworks, New Year's
Yeah,
Eve.
so just real quick, we're on for the New Year's like we traditionally have been, and at this point, we're hoping that nothing will prevent us from doing this year, but we're full steam ahead, planning for 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve, like we traditionally have done. I don't know if anybody got a chance to see the fireworks that we did for Westwood Day, but they were really good, and these ones will even be a little bit better, so a little bit longer. So yeah, so it's just nice to be able to do our events again this year. Last year was a difficult year where a lot of these events we had to cancel because of COVID, and now to be able to put them on again is really nice.
Yeah. All right, Aquatics Manager.
Yep. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a new Aquatics Manager that was hired last month. Her first day will be November 1st, which is a week from today. Her name is Holly Coots, and her most recent experience, she spent many years working in Plymouth, and before that, I believe Brockton, although I might be wrong on that. But she has a lot of experience with aquatics, a lot of experience with recreation in general, and she's going to be a great addition to the team.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will, obviously, she'll be spending a lot of time with Sue, and getting brought up to speed on running the pool, and and that's going to take some time, as you would expect. There's a lot to it. Not just managing all of the various aspects of the programmings that we run in the pool, but the mechanics of the pool, the maintenance of the pool, and what have you is a big part of it as well. So she'll be spending, the next, well, realistically, probably the rest of this year, working with Sue to get up to speed. And then after that, and we've already started doing this to a lesser degree, but we'll start to transition Sue really into being the full-time assistant rec director, working not only with the aquatics team, but also with the dryland recreation program managers on our programming and what have you for next year.
So
Great.
that's great.
Sorry.
One of the things that now that I think the last time we did a organizational chart, I thought it was
Yep.
excellent. It was
Yep.
it was like put everything in there. So can we get that updated again?
You sure may. I'll have
Okay.
that for you in the next meeting. Yep.
Okay, and then possibly, I mean, as far as, put a little box in there also for the Recreation Commission members. Put our names in there as well and the titles. One, this is the team, right? We're part of that organization, so. Does anybody have any objections to having their name on the org chart?
No, I mean, we don't work in the department, so it
Yeah,
should be
so
sort of to the
probably what
side.
I'll
Well,
do, Paul, is
maybe not.
I'll create an org chart, if you will, for the commission. And it'll be a 2-page job, right?
Okay.
So
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
have
that's a good idea.
I'll have the rec department and the rec commission and combine that, right? We'll have both. So I can put them both there together. Yeah.
With pictures?
Wow.
What?
You know,
Well, I
it's
guess
really-
if we choose, maybe, hey, I'll just take a picture of this screen with my phone
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now and everyone smile.
I know, it's really funny, but so I've got a bunch of folks who work for me at Mass General, and one of the things that these guys were guys walking around the place, and you'd see them, and folks go, well, who's that? Who's that? And so one
Yeah.
of the things that I decided to do was I had, a list of 10 of the key guys who were always walking around, and I actually made them take their pictures and include it on the org chart. And it turned out to be well received. It was kind of interesting. And I'm not asking you to do it here, but that's why I was joking about the pictures. So.
Yeah, we talked about that at work too, Paul. Like we
Yeah.
have people like rotating in and out of the department. And now with COVID, like when I get back, I'm going to know my regular people that have been in the department forever, but all the new people.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell people they needed, and we all have like desks that we're not assigned. Get little flags, put your picture on the flag, and put the
Yeah.
flag on your desk that you're sitting in that day, so people will see it. And
And no, that's a
but
yeah.
no one bought into that. But
Yeah,
it
Sounds
is
like
a good
the Game
idea.
of Thrones.
What's
The little flag, or like the Game of Thrones parties or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So
So one of the things that I haven't even talked to the team about this, but I was thinking about having our portraits posted in the department so that anybody that comes in can see,
oh
who
yeah.
we all are and have that done. So that's on my list of things to do once we get Holly in place and when we start, reorging the department. That's one of my ideas that I'm going to present to the team and whatnot. So, and we can very easily incorporate that into an org chart. I like the idea of having pictures associated with names because
Yeah.
we all know each other, and but some of the department members you don't see all the time, and you might not be as familiar with their mug as you are with mine. So so I'm very happy to do that. So yeah.
And maybe Holly can come to a meeting after she's settled in.
Yep.
We can get to know
So we'll see. We'll look at her. We'll look at what her schedule is, and if I can't get her at the next meeting, we'll certainly do the December meeting. We'll have her in one of the next two, and I'll make sure that her schedule will allow for that.
Excellent.
Yep.
So Wentworth Hall, I'm interested in this update.
Yeah, so we're running programs down there, which is great. There's some growing pains. The building still has some things that need to be finished. The furniture down and the lower level is a little bit sparse right now, and we're waiting for things to come in. The supply chains, it's amazing what you used to be able to go to a store and buy something. Now you order it and it takes what would have been delivered next day is now 6 months or 3 months. Or it's wild. But we are running several programs there now. We have some dog programs going on, some dance programs, some children's programs, a few different children's programs that we're running there. And we've more or less figured out the locks, and that was a big thing on the first day. And we're in the process of the doors close and they lock, and you'd have to prop them open to, you can't unlock them or leave them unlocked. So once the program starts and the door closes, if someone shows up late, they couldn't get in. And so we're getting a doorbell installed and things like that, little things that you wouldn't know until you're there. So they're growing pains, but generally speaking, it's going good, and the building is meeting our needs. If you haven't been down there, it's really interesting. There's really two big rooms, one great room, and then a second room that is about half the size, and they sort of form a T the way that they're joined in the middle. And the intent is to have a sliding wall, so you can make one great room, but with the two rooms together, or two separate rooms divided by what would more or less be it won't be literally soundproof, but it'll be more or less soundproof. And so you can hold two different meetings down there simultaneously. And that dividing wall is not there. So right now, the only option is to have one very large space. So you can only have one program going on down there at once. And of course, the space is not just for recreation, it's shared with other departments in town. So we have a agreed upon schedule that we all know what it is, and we can schedule our time during our allocated time. And that has been complicated by the fact that that wall is not there. And therefore we can't run, for instance, Youth and Family Services can't run one of their programs at the same time we are. So we have a temporary allocation that just contemplates one room, and then once that wall is installed, we'll be able to run simultaneous programs. So, and our hope is that wall will either be installed by the end of the year or sometime in the first quarter. And again, it'll be dependent upon the ability to order the parts and get it installed.
Mhm.
So, but good news is we have that space, and with the exception of sharing it with a few other departments, namely the library and Youth and Family Services, we're more or less back to where we were before ICC went offline, which would have been December of last year. So that's really good news for us.
Yep.
So if you haven't been down there and you'd like to, and let me know, I can get you down there. It's open to the public more or less. So if you're interested in seeing that space, just let me know and give you a little tour.
Maybe we can, when we meet in person some point, we can do it.
Well, we could meet down there
Yeah,
if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
I think it would be fun to have a meeting down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd even bring my own chair if that's what it took.
there's actually right now there's 4 tables and there's probably
Okay.
just enough chairs for all of us. So I think we'd be okay.
We bring our beach chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Lounge
And
chairs.
our cocktails and yeah.
Yep.
All right, fall programming updates.
Yeah. So just wanted to give you a quick update where we are with our fall. As you know, we're now about halfway through it, remarkably, because our fall, calendar-wise, the fall is our longest season. It starts in September and ends at the end of December. So, our registrations continue to be very robust this fall, again, exceeding certainly where we were last fall and even where we were 2 years ago. The programs are going great. And one of the things that we have started, we are now offering after-school programs at Downey. At Deerfield. We used to be at Downey, but now they have the extended day program running at Downey, so we're not doing it there anymore. So, but Deerfield has asked us to come in and do that, and we're expanding our programming. We started it this fall. We're going to be adding some additional ones later this fall, and then even expanding it more for our winter. And it's going quite well there. Where the big thing is what we'll start doing soon is, and where the value is for the parents is that we take custody, if you will, of the kids from the school. They run our program, and then the parents just come pick them up at the end of the program. Whereas going to pick up the child at the school and then, handing them off to us and then come back and pick up. So it eliminates the need to come and pick up the kids from school and drop them off with us. We take care of that. So if
And
they
is
go
it
to-
only for Deerfield kids because the
Yeah.
school ends early and whatnot?
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily that the school ends early. It's because we're there. We don't go to the other schools and transport, just like we used to do at Downey. So if when we did our after school programs at Downey, we would pick up the children from the school and do exactly what I just described. If a family from another school wanted to join that program, they could do it. They just had to go get their child.
Yeah, that was my question. Like, is it open to kids from other
Th-
schools?
Yes, they are open, but you have to
You have to drop off.
drop off, right? So
I think
but now that
Deerfield, don't they end earlier though? Like,
I think they end about 3:10.
oh, no, that's the same time as everyone else. Okay.
It's roughly the same time. I don't
Okay.
know the exact release time of all of them, but I think we were just talking about this today, and I think 3:10.
Yeah, I think
So-
that's standard.
That's
I
what
think
she
so
is.
too. And so we're more or less going to build out at Deerfield what we used to do at Downey. And I can tell you the families that went to Downey loved what we did for them there. And, you know, that whole handoff is a really nice value add for the parents, that they don't have to worry about the kids getting out of school, picking them up and then dropping them off to a program. We take care of all that. So, so yeah, we, both Kerry and Joe met with the principal over there at Deerfield today, and they had a great meeting, and we're gonna expand what we do over there going into the winter. So
You're muted,
awesome.
Katie.
I'm muted. Sorry.
Oh.
How many kids can be part of that program?
well, it depends on which program it is. So for instance, the most popular one that we used to do at Downey, which we will do at Deerfield now, is the short Wednesdays. And we do short Wednesday art, and we do short Wednesday sports, and we do 30 in each of those. So a total of 60. The other ones on the non-Wednesdays will vary depending on how many people we can get to run the programs. So, but probably about 20 per program, and we could have more than one program going at the same time. So
it's sort of like the mini courses that ran at Martha Jones, probably other schools, where kids stay after they do their activities, whatever. And
yeah.
but this is run by the rec, and it's different, maybe different activities.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
hey, Rich, does anybody know, is there like an after-school program on a regular basis at the Deerfield like they have?
No,
Okay,
it's my understanding that there's not, and that's why
That's
we're
why.
over there. Yeah.
yeah,
A couple of years ago, one of the members of the PTO at Deerfield asked if we could come in and do what we did at Downey at Deerfield as well. And the problem is as much as we'd love to, we only have so many staff to man these programs. It requires a lot of staff to have
Okay.
60 kids at any one given time, right? And so with Downey now offering extended day, and they don't have room for us there, it gave us the opportunity to go to Deerfield.
So winter updates?
Yeah, so we're in the process of putting together our winter slate of programs. Our first draft of the brochure is due at the end of this week, with the goal of having it in mailboxes before Thanksgiving, with registration for winter starting December 3rd right now is the current plan. So our hope is to stick to that deadline. And, you know, where we have access to the schools, unlike last year, and I'm hoping to have a lot more to offer this winter than what we did last year, you know. And it was kind of cool to see that we were able to fill tennis in January and February outside. You know,
You're
those
still
tennis
going to do
balls got
that?
pretty hard. What's that? Well, I don't
Are you
know.
still going to do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that was out of necessity, and hey, they filled up, and the kids had a great time, and so
Maybe some of the hiking ones, though. You had like
Yeah.
outdoor, like adventure things. Those would be cool to continue.
Absolutely, and those are part of the discussion right now. As a matter of fact, we had just a week or two ago, Joe took 10 kids to Blue Hills, and they did a hike on Blue Hills on a short Wednesday. So yeah, and they had a great time.
Now,
So-
is transportation provided for that? Like drop off
Yeah.
at the high school and get in the van? Okay.
Yeah, we had the rec van.
And I'm assuming all kinds of waivers are signed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, that's part of our standard waiver to allow for transportation.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we're on course. The key message there is we're on course for our winter programming, and you know, it's going to look a little bit more robust per se than last year because of COVID. So yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And summer stats.
Yeah, so if you turn to page 6 in the package. So as I've already alluded to, in a general sense, you know, this summer was a really successful summer for a lot of reasons, and our stats report here that shows the finances would indicate and demonstrate that it was good from a financial perspective as well. So if you look at the column titled balance, that of course is the excess balance that we achieved, if you will, profit. It's another way to say it. So our summer programs earned about $348,000,
Wow.
which is
Profit.
great. Yeah, that's great, and we needed it because the year before, if you recall, the last meeting we showed you the fiscal year, which ended in June in the spring. You know, we were way down in terms of our earnings and whatnot.
Wow.
And of course, as you know, we transfer a lot of this money to the town, right? So this will cover our annual transfer to the town, which is big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does those expenses, that's not including salary, correct?
It does not include full-time salary, no.
Okay,
This is all, those expenses are all what we would call incremental expenses.
okay,
Expenses occurred to run the program. It doesn't include any overhead.
Okay.
And that ultimately gets sort of accounted for. And what I was saying is we transfer, and some of this you may have already heard, and I don't want to bore you too much with all of the financial stuff, but we do transfer well over $300,000 to the town, which means we have to make that in profit in order to do so. So, and that's revenue to the town. And that covers basically our salaries that the town pays for.
We can't put it towards the pickleball courts at Sheehan then.
That's gonna be the next agenda item.
Well, we'd have to make a lot more than that
Yeah.
because the pickleball courts, I honestly believe those pickleball courts will be done. It's not a matter of financial. Well, obviously finances are always something that we need to consider, but I do believe that is something that's going to get done. Right now, the question is not the money, it's the location, and we all have this site that we've been talking about for years. But with the school project, which is very close to being completed, right? Tomorrow, I guess, is
Or at least the vote, yeah.
the vote.
It won't be
right?
completed for a while, but yeah.
Well, sure, but
Yeah.
then you know, I'll just need to know from the schools and from Chris and that location is okay, that they're, whatever happens with Deerfield, because whatever happens with Sheehan, because Sheehan's going to need some work too, I think, and as long as they're not going to disturb that area as a part of whatever they do to Sheehan, then they'll allow us to go ahead. And so I think that they just don't want, and it makes complete sense, they don't want to build it and then find out that they've got to tear it down to do whatever they've got to do to Sheehan, right? They don't, I recall correctly, and this was before I was involved in recreation, but it's my understanding that there used to be a tennis court over at Morrison Park that isn't there anymore because it got built over by the new firehouse. And I think they want to avoid a circumstance of spending some real money. And I mean, this pickleball court that we're proposed is well north of 200,000. And then just to have it torn up because of,
Right, yeah.
So they want to be very certain that ground, wherever it's put, is not going to be disturbed by any kind of a construction or renovation project or anything like that.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
What's the
go
lifespan
ahead.
of like what's the lifespan of a pickleball court? Like
25 years.
So they would want nothing to happen to it for 25 years, basic, right?
Well, maintenance.
We have to do maintenance, like we do with the
Yeah.
tennis courts.
Right.
We're spending a lot of money to keep the tennis courts up to
Right.
date.
Right. If from what I understand and talking to my court guy is that, and if a court is done right, you can expect to get 25 years out of it, which we have not seen at the tennis courts at the high school. The cracks that we're getting are not typical for a court of that age.
Well, I think weather was an increment factor on that too, Rich, wasn't it? Because of didn't it freeze up right after they got poured?
I don't know that
Okay.
now.
Elizabeth would know.
Yeah, so
Carrie mentioned today, because we played our pickleball lesson was indoors today at the Deerfield, and she mentioned, and I thought it was a great idea, if we could paint pickleball lines on that Deerfield basketball court, because it's not standard. In fact, you could barely get one pickleball court on it. So they're not playing basketball games. If you could paint blue lines, it'd be, we could run programming all year in there in the evening. And that couldn't cost very much to paint pickleball lines on a basketball court.
It's a
I
great
see Rich
idea.
making notes.
I'm taking notes. I
Yeah.
think that I'm not going to make any promises. I'll talk to Ken Aries
Yeah,
to see what, because obviously
Right.
it's one thing with the tennis courts and painting
Yeah.
the lines, but indoors on the courts, that's definitely school, and I would need to coordinate that
of course.
with
Of course,
Ken. And I have no idea what kind of money we're talking about to paint a hardwood court, as opposed to, I know what it costs to do outdoor courts. They're $350 a side, which is nothing. So I'll
Right.
definitely explore that. And if that's something that is the school will allow, and it doesn't cost an outrageous amount of money, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, right now what they're doing is putting just little like rubber markers
Right.
around, but they're not selling. The ball lands on the marker and then it takes a weird bounce, or you step on, you push it with your foot. And
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
and
having a lot of fun. I think they're doing a great job with the
Oh, good.
lessons. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, just gonna.
I also had a question about daily swim membership, but let you finish your notes first.
Yeah. So that's it. Unless anybody has any questions about the stats report.
Yeah, I was wondering, do we always lose money on daily swim? And should we be looking to charge? I don't remember what we charge, but should we be looking to charge a little bit more?
So
Oh, I never want charge more. You know how I am.
I
no,
know.
we don't. So that's interesting. I'm going to have this conversation with Sue. We need to do some more analysis on that, because the answer
Okay.
is no, we don't, and I need to understand why that is.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you right now. And what I can also tell you when it comes to operating the pool right now is that there's a shortage of lifeguards, and the wages for lifeguarding are going up. So I'm in the process right now. As a matter of fact, I was just communicating with HR today about setting our part-time pay schedule for next year. And we're going to be looking at and possibly addressing what we pay our lifeguards so we can remain competitive. We need to be able to staff the pool with lifeguards so we can keep it open. And
Every industry is hurting right now.
Yeah,
For
I know.
workers.
I know, but I mean, we've been talking to a lot of different towns that have municipal pools, and they're all struggling to have get good lifeguards. And we have 3 full-time aquatic staff, and but we want to have best practice right now is to have 2 people on deck at all times. So in the event of an emergency, you have one person doing the rescue and one person managing the pool and whatever communication that needs to happen with emergency services. So, we can't have only full-time staff lifeguarding. We need to have part-time staff to help us. So we've got to address that. And I don't want to be uncompetitive salary-wise. And so that goes to the question of, what we're charging and will that be affected
Right.
by that? And
Right.
so that's a discussion that needs to take place. It was something that I just started. Sue and I have had a few different discussions about making sure when we redo the schedule for next year, we make sure that the pay rates are competitive. What that's going to mean for the rates for what we charge for membership is yet to be discussed, but is on the docket to be discussed in the next month.
So Rich, one thing to consider is, and I all the years I've been working and been affiliated with the Recreation Commission, I've never heard of a raise in the daily rates. So take a look at the last time that we even gave, consider that. When was the last time we actually went up on that rate? And I can tell you, it certainly hasn't been during your tenure.
No, as a matter of fact, Paul, you're right. And I believe that it was done right before I started. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, because believe it or not, in a month, I'm going to hit my 4-year anniversary here. So it seems like.
Yeah. Well, if that 4 years ago, does anybody here remember that happening 4 years ago? I certainly don't.
Yeah, I seem to recall when I first started, we did some analysis. I want to say that it was done within the year prior to me starting,
Okay.
but it wasn't a significant increase. I mean, we're charged $30 a month for a single membership, right? So it's not like it's a massive amount to start with. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
So more to come on that. That's those are great points, and right on the money. We've been having those conversations, and they're just at the start. So we'll have more over the next month or two on that. Yep. So then the next item would be just the question for you all as to whether or not you would like to start having in-person meetings. There's nothing stopping us now.
I'm Zoom fatigued.
I, for one, would love to get and have our old meetings again, but again, it's all what you're comfortable with. We'll go with what everybody wants.
I vote for in person, but I don't want to force anyone.
And does anybody have any objections? Really, I guess is probably the.
Do I have to record everyone's vote on this, or this is just a discussion?
No, this is just a discussion.
Oh, good. All right. How about whoever doesn't want to do an in-person, put your hand up. All right. We're all set.
We do have remote access for people who are away anyway. So if there was if I was sick and didn't want to expose people, maybe, I don't know, let's be careful on what we do here, because I don't know if I want to sit for an hour and a half with a mask on inside a school building. So we have to adhere to the school rules. So not if we don't meet in the school.
Well, we have
in the town, if we meet in the library, if we meet at the
town hall,
okay,
Wentworth.
yeah, and that's fine. I mean, if that's the case, but you can wear your mask if you want, and I have a tendency to want to take it off, after a half an hour or so, or 20 minutes. I just have to have it off, and then I put it. If people are mask concerned, then I'll put the thing back on. But the fact is if we're at the school and we have the meetings in that department, in the department, Rich, we
Carby
have
Street,
to,
right? We don't normally.
All right, I'm just the only thing I'm trying to
yeah.
point out is that if we do agree to do it in person, can't be at the schools.
Unless the kids aren't there, and then I think you can be maskless if the kids aren't there.
Well,
but you're right.
I don't know.
I don't see
But
a
you're right.
reason why we would need to go in the schools, first of all.
Yeah.
We have Carby Street, which is where we always used to meet. That's obviously not a school. We could meet at Wentworth. That's not a school. Or we could meet if we had to, and I'm not recommending this, but we could meet at the recreation department, which I know is attached to the school, but it's not considered the school. We don't need to. It's different in where we are in the rec department.
So if you meet, let's say at the Colwell Banker office in Westwood, and it's not mandated that we have to wear masks, and it's not a public facility, right?
I don't
Can
think
we
masks
have
are
a meeting?
mandated. Masks aren't mandated even in the town hall. I mean,
No.
they're only mandated, I think, in the schools.
That's
Oh,
cool.
all right, then we can have it anywhere. We're all
Yeah.
set then.
That's
Yeah, okay.
So if we have it, let's have it outside the school. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
we don't have it in the school anyways.
Rich, we
Mitch?
need a viable option. People that may not want to say it out here in public, but people
Yeah.
do have fears. COVID is an issue.
Yep.
And someone may feel uncomfortable going into a room with people unmasked and having to mask, but being with unmasked people. So I'm not sure we want to put people in a position to either attend a meeting or go against what they feel is safety protocol. So I think we have to be careful on this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be
agree.
unanimous. And if you're uncomfortable voicing dissent here, please feel free to email me. And if anybody says no, then I would say let's stay with Zoom while we can. But if everybody wants to go, there's no reason why we can't. And that's why I threw it out on the agenda. I don't want to necessarily influence anybody. If somebody's uncomfortable, then we just won't do it. But if everybody's comfortable with it, then there's no reason why we can't. So
This should still be an option for those, if everyone's fine, but there's one person. And actually, I just came from a wedding in Brooklyn, so I'm a little tired with 300 people with no one wearing a mask. So it's crazy. So I'm fine with you guys, but those who may
That is a
not.
little crazy.
Well, that was crazy. I wore my mask, but anyways, we won't get into my wedding in Brooklyn story, but I'm fine with meeting in person, but we want to have the option for those who may not be to either do it remotely or that's probably, I think if someone has an issue, rather than worry about who's wearing a mask and who isn't, they're going to want to do it remote. So
Maybe
you're going
there'd
to
be
know
a
who that
dial-in
person is.
option. Like if
So
I
I
come
don't-
down with the flu.
Right.
Yeah.
There should be, or I can't physically get there, or like one of our members used to go to Florida. I'm not, again,
Yeah.
whose status is unknown at this point, but he would just call in from Florida. So the
We
Zoom
have
option
that.
is
Yeah.
would always be available. If I'm away or I physically can't get to the meeting, then I can at least, if I'm on a business trip, I can just log in and do the meeting.
Yeah, and I think, that Bob used to be, it was a phone option, and I don't know if Zoom is an option if someone can't attend in person for one particular week, or if it's a dial-in.
yeah.
But as long
So-
as there is an option,
So
I mean, there'd
will
have to
check.
be.
I will check with Dottie. I know that Zoom is still an option because of there was an extension to the executive order from Governor Baker that allowed it. And then, of course, in person is now also. And then there's this thing called hybrid, which is kind of like a simulcast where you can be in person but also have Zoom.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I don't know, and I have to research this more to understand what's allowable there. I'll check with Dottie, and I'll let you all know if that is if that's doable. I know that there was, from what I seem to recall, that there was, if it's been made a legitimate option now. I know there was discussion, but I don't know if they've made it allowable yet. So I'll check into that, and if that's an option, we can do that as well. And that will just mean that we're doing similar to what we're doing now, but the logistics of doing
One's a room and one's a computer.
it's the logistics of trying, I know they do that with certain meetings with the help of Westwood Media Center. I don't know how we would do it where you have all of us in a room, but one person's on Zoom. You know what I mean? And
We have a tech expert in our midst.
This was my job all of last year. High flex.
All right.
This was it.
All right, Katie. So you might,
Her
Well,
first assignment.
you might have to. you
No,
might have
I
to,
don't
yeah.
want it.
Ah.
I'm done with it. I'm just kidding.
You're elected. All in
Yeah.
favor?
I,
That doesn't count. I have to call on you. Well, at the very least, we know phone call is an option because that's what was done in the past. And if we
Yeah.
can make Zoom for
Right.
for someone who can't attend in person, that would
All right.
be.
So let's leave it at this. For right now, no decision. If in the meantime, anybody that doesn't want to talk about it publicly and just wants to say and let me know that, no, you're not comfortable and we want to remain Zoom, please feel free to do that. I will also explore that other option with Dottie and see what that will entail. And I'll be back in touch with you as to, what our options are, and we can decide for next meeting.
are
I
any,
just wanted, from my perspective, I'm comfortable with it. I'm vaccinated and I also tested positive, so I'm fine with whatever.
Okay.
You had
wasn't-
COVID? Oh,
Yeah, I remember back in January, long,
I
long time
remember.
ago. Yeah,
I'm sure
remember.
I knew, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, because I told everybody.
But you did fine.
Yeah,
No longer.
I continued working right through it. I was asymptomatic.
Oh, wow.
So I just said, like, from my perspective, I'm comfortable. So you guys can decide whatever you guys want to do. I don't
I
mind.
am too. I'm actually getting my booster. The list of
Oh,
conditions
I-
is so long that qualifies you. I'm like, geez, anyone can get a booster. So I'm getting it this week.
I'll get it as soon as I can.
All right, so going back.
It
to the
was easy to
meeting,
make an
are we-
appointment.
Are we, the next meeting will be the end of November? Are we after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving?
So,
It says the 15th,
so I think Angela
tentative.
put the 15th on there.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm just pulling up my calendar.
That is the
on
third Monday, but
Yeah.
it's
Right.
because, yeah.
So, hey, Rich,
So-
while you're doing that, have any other commissions, committees made, started in person yet?
I don't know the answer
Let's-
to that. I'll
yeah,
ask that.
let-
I'll ask
Yeah,
that question
let's
as
find
well.
that out, because if they aren't, let's let somebody else be the
Oh, the
trailblazers.
crowd.
Good point. That's either everyone should or no one should, I guess.
Exactly,
Well,
exactly.
I
Half
don't
the
know if I
town
agree
should be
with
your own.
that.
Uh,
I don't agree
yeah.
with that. You could have a commission where people are really not comfortable. Why
Yeah.
should everyone else have to meet on Zoom just because one group or two groups
Yeah.
isn't comfortable? I think each commission should make the decision for themselves.
Either way. Whatever Dottie says.
Okay.
I'll find out. So looking at the calendar, the 15th, which will obviously come relatively quickly, is the third Monday in November, which is what we traditionally use, right, for our date.
Yeah.
The next week is Thanksgiving, so I don't think we would want to do the 22nd unless you want to do the Monday of Thanksgiving. That would be the alternative. And again, whichever you guys prefer, I'm indifferent. I can do either.
I'm for the 15th.
15th
You-
fine.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay. Okay. The
All right.
15th it is.
You need,
And we skip-
do we have to make a motion for that?
No.
No, you just have
We-
to motion to adjourn.
No.
Yeah, we skipped over any other items not reasonably anticipated. And people bring up items as we, like the pickleball and whatnot. Is there anything else that people want to bring up?
So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the baseball nets. Is that going anywhere, Rich?
It's on my list, Paul.
Okay,
No, but again, all I can tell you is that I spoke to one company. They said that they would give me a quote, which they never did. And I later found out that that company doesn't like to do small jobs. This would be what they would consider small jobs.
Okay.
So.
Wish they would just say
still
that
I
in the
still have
first
to,
place.
I still have to explore that.
okay, and Matt is still on your side of you exploring that. Is that a true statement?
Well,
Matt Gillis?
he's not. I guess it depends on how far you go with that. He doesn't care if, we were to do something with that. I think that I never said, would you pay for it?
Well, yeah,
And so there's two parts of this discussion, right? What is the right answer in terms of putting some kind of net there?
so
And
hold
then
on.
the
I'm
question is,
sorry.
who's gonna
I'm
pay
sorry.
for it? Who's gonna run the project, right? And
Yeah.
so,
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but Katie has no idea what we're talking about. So I want to make sure Katie understands what's going on before we, so Katie, I've been pushing for, in the baseball fields, like at the high school, for baseballs that go over, into the tennis courts. I find that to be a hazard. My wife, Mitch, you were there. I think you were there, right? That she got hit with a baseball when she was walking at the Thurston. So again, you're not going to be able to protect everybody. We're not going to be able to put them in a bubble, but I'd like to continue to push. I've been doing it now for close to 4 years. I mean, I bring this up and everybody's sick and tired of hearing from it, but I'm going to continue to bring it up. So, and what we're trying to do here, what I want to have happen is that we take a better look at and financing, putting up nets in these places that I think are dangerous to the kids and spectators around there. So that's pretty much it. But go ahead, Rich. Sorry, I cut you off.
Just, I'll second it. I mean, both, I have two older boys, Katie, they play baseball. This is at Thurston Middle School. There's a field there and it's adjacent to a parking lot, which is right at the front of the school. And it was a notorious area. You did not park your car in that area, only out of town.
Visitors did.
Yes, because there's a parking lot and the balls constantly went over there and hit people's roofs. So
Yeah.
those in the know did not park there. So I believe I was on the field that day when Paul's wife was hit by a baseball right in the
Yeah.
face. So
Yeah.
again, we can't ensure safety for everyone. There's risks of,
Right.
of ball fields and football fields and batted balls, but there's literally something should be thought about there because it is a known danger that balls are flying into the parking lot in Thurston.
And I also don't see a reason why, you know, everybody asks for capital funding every year, and why we're not approaching Matt to do that is something that we should do. I mean,
Yeah.
look at, I'm more than, and Rich, I've offered my assistance many times, so I'm more than happy to meet with Matt. I know him very well. I've never talked to him about it. I can certainly bring it up to him and say, hey, what's going on with this? You know, and I have no problem with that. But I really, I would like to see it, you know, something during my tenure, sometime, at least get it addressed and either put to bed and saying, this is what we've done. Again, this has been many years that I've been asking about it ever since before Nicole started. So that's
Alright.
my piece.
Noted.
Anyone else have any items? All right, and so we've settled on the 15th, so all we need is a motion. Someone to make a motion to adjourn the October 25th Recreation Commission meeting.
I'll also move.
Mitch, and then who would like to second it?
I'll
I
second
guess
it.
I'll second it. I'll
All right,
second
you
it.
will.
All right,
I was
so,
hoping Katie would.
Before you end this, can Rich end the recording so that we could talk?
yeah, let's just finish this. Let's all vote on this motion.
Thank you.
Sheila, you do approve to adjourn the meeting?
Sure, yes.
And Katie, do you?
Yes.
And Joyce
Yes, I do.
and Paul?
Yes.
All right, then that's passed, and this ends the October 25th, 2021 Recreation Commission meeting
Thank
and
you.
the recording.